Welcome everyone to an episode of Frio's Adventures. My name is Frio and I'll be with Professor Perrito. The professor is going to teach me how the real world works and what to expect when living my life. Let's get right into it. Hey Professor, let's get right into it.
Okay, Frio. I see you're excited to learn a new topic today.
Yeah, Professor. I want to learn about something that I use a lot. I want to learn about TVs.
Oh, TVs, huh? Well, sometimes we use the TV to look at videos or diagrams in these sessions. Looks like we're going to talk about how it works.
I use the TV to watch some of my favorite shows. I want to know exactly how it works and why I can see them.
Well, Frio, we'll have to talk about the past a little bit to properly understand this topic. We had the telephone back in the 1870s. The telephone transmitted sound so that when one person talked, the person on the other side of the line was able to hear what was said. But some people, like Alexander Graham Bell and Thomas Edison, wanted to take that a step further and thought about a device that would transmit sound and images. This was thought of, but it was never really made by them.
Wait, you're telling me the phone was used in the 1870s? Wow, that's quite a long time ago. Well then, who made the TV? Who allowed me to watch my favorite shows at home?
Well, yes, the phone was used in the 1870s, but we'll talk about it more some other time. As for the TV, well, the first TV was really a mechanical TV. Paul Nipkow, a German engineer, made a disc that scanned images line by line and converted them into electrical signals. These signals would be received by the TV and the TV would show the image.
When you say scanned images line by line, what do you mean exactly? Were photos used for this process?
Yes, Frio. Most of the time, static images, like printed text or drawings, were used for the mechanical TV. So think of an image as a frame for the TV. And as the disc rotates, it will transmit the frames continuously until the last image is scanned.
I see. So back then they used discs to scan images and then output them to the TV. Is that what we use today?
No, Frio. We have gotten much more advanced TVs since then, but let me tell you about the technological advancements of them a little more before we get to today's TVs. Static images were used for the most part, but John Logie Baird was able to demonstrate how to use moving images with the disc. Moving images are just images displayed rapidly to try and show motion to the viewer. For example, I can show you multiple images of me fetching a ball. The first image would be me standing still, but for 5 images it would show me starting to run. And then the last image would be me getting the ball in my mouth. But they would be displayed really fast, and it would create the illusion of motion on the TV.
Wow, that was a lot of words. But I understand what you're talking about, Professor. It's kind of interesting to know that's how mechanical TVs worked back then.
But in 1908, the Scottish electrical engineer Alan Archibald Campbell Swinton outlined the basic principles of an electronic television. He proposed to use cathode ray tubes, or CRTs, for both the transmission and reception of images. This involved scanning an image using an electron beam and converting it to an electrical signal. The receiver, aka the TV, would then convert the electrical signal into the image using a CRT inside of it.
Okay, but what's a CRT?
A CRT is a tube that contains one or more electron guns. It also has a screen used to display images when the beam shoots it. Basically, the electron guns heat up and shoot a narrow beam of electrons. Coils or plates then control where the electron beam points to. The beam hits the screen, and you'll finally see the image. This is a very fast process, so you would see the images on your TV, and they would be sort of like moving images.
Oh wow, that sounds pretty cool. I didn't know guns were used in these things. And this seems to be more efficient than the mechanical TV that we talked about.
Well, Frio, technology is a very strange thing, and it was more efficient and faster than the mechanical TV. A Russian scientist named Boris Lvovich Rosing was also doing his own research about TVs, and he actually built his own prototype of a TV using a CRT in 1911. The images that were shown were simple shapes, but this was a very significant achievement in developing electronic TVs. However, the image capture was still a mechanical method.
Wow, it seems like the Scottish and the Russian were working together without even realizing it. I guess smart people have common thoughts even when they live in different parts of the world.
Well, Frio, this exact thing happens in the late 1920s, but in the United States of America. A Russian engineer named Vladimir Kuzmich Zworykin worked under Boris Rosing. He migrated to the USA in 1919 and was able to develop a completely working electronical TV in the 1930s. However, that didn't happen without issues. An American inventor named Philo Taylor Farnsworth was also researching the development of the TV. He developed the first functional, all-electronical TV in 1927.
Oh, so Farnsworth was able to invent the first electronical TV before Zworykin. I guess like before, smart minds think alike.
Well, Frio, they got into a big legal battle with the patents involved. I won't get into the exact details, but basically both of them used similar functionality to convert an optical signal to an electrical signal. Both of them used similar methods for displaying images. However, Farnsworth did develop the TV first, and at the end, won the legal battle.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I can't believe you can get into a legal battle by making things first.
Well, in this case, Frio, it was the company that hired Zworykin that was mainly doing the fighting. The name of the company was Radio Corporation of America. But Zworykin did make improvements to the television over time. Instead of using a mechanical disc to convert images to electrical signals, a tube was used to scan the image and convert the image captured to electrical signals. This was the iconoscope. It's a little complicated, but basically this was mainly used for televisions and allowed for the TV to be completely electronic.
This is pretty interesting. So did a lot of people start watching TV during that time?
Not really, Frio. A very limited number of people watched TV back in the late 1920s and throughout the 1930s. And there weren't a lot of channels to watch back then either. However, people really started watching TV a lot in the late 1940s. They were widely available for sale, and they were able to watch news channels and kids shows. All of the TV shows at the time, though, were primarily in black and white.
What? There wasn't any color available for the TV shows?
Nope. It wasn't until the 1950s when color TVs were being developed, and people didn't really use those until the mid-1960s. Color TVs were being developed in the 1920s to the 1940s, but they weren't really used by a lot of people. Zworykin actually helped with the development of color TVs. Some engineers and inventors researched how to produce color TVs on their own, like Alan Balcom Dumont, Ernst Frederick Werner Alexanderson, and Walter Bruch.
Wow, that's quite the amount of time just to include color on TVs.
Well, it was a new thing, so they needed time to develop this. Cathode ray tubes were improved upon by allowing different electron guns to display various intensities of the colors red, green, and blue. This allowed for a lot of colors to be seen on the TV, even today. In the 1950s, the RCA helped with creating the National Television System Committee, or the NTSC. The NTSC developed a standard for color TVs by specifying that this RGB system should be used, and this system provided us with 16,777,216 colors that can be displayed on the TV.
That's an abundance of colors. Well, I'm glad we have color on our TVs. I don't think I would like watching my shows in black and white. I can't even imagine the feeling.
Me too. TV shows are a lot better with color, although I can't see a lot of colors. On the TV, you'll see an image, but each little piece making the image is called a pixel, and each individual pixel has its own color. For example, I'm on the TV and you can see my mouth. But there are probably hundreds of thousands of pixels that are black on the TV to show my mouth.
I wonder how many pixels it takes to show your tongue.
Anyway, people stopped buying black and white TVs in the 1970s, and most people just bought color ones. And they did keep improving TVs for a while by improving the color quality of the CRTs at the time throughout the 1980s. However, one major improvement for TVs was developing flat-screen TVs. Before this, TVs were bulkier and larger for the CRTs in the back of it. But with flat-screen TVs, since you don't have the CRTs anymore, you don't have to worry about that.
They didn't use CRTs anymore? Then what did they use?
They developed liquid crystal displays, also known as LCDs. This was done in large part by Otto Lehmann, Richard Williams, George Harry Heilmeyer, James Lee Ferguson, Peter Brody, Martin Schatt, Wolfgang Helfrich, and Hideo Kawamoto. They all had a hand in researching this technology and making TVs better. Although Otto Lehmann, a German physicist, discovered the liquid crystals, the others used it to make the TVs better.
I see. That is quite a bunch of people working on this. So they essentially used LCDs instead of CRTs since it was better?
Yes. Liquid crystals were kind of like a mix between solid and liquid, but they can align themselves whenever an electric current is present. On the TV itself, there's a backlight to light up the pixels on the TV, a filter to control light pass through, the liquid crystals themselves, color filters to control color, and an array of transistors that control each pixel individually. Whenever a current is applied to specific places on the screen, the crystals align in a way that allows light to pass through or block light completely.
So liquid crystals were pretty good since they don't have the bulky CRTs and electron guns controlling the image display. It was mainly an electric current and transistors controlling the pixels that you see?
In basic terms, yes. LCDs also used less power and had better quality images. Later on, these LCDs were improved upon and later produced even better images and used even less power. LCDs also had better backlights, because before the backlights used were cold cathode fluorescent lamps, or CCFLs. But later, light-emitting diodes or LEDs were used. They were long-lasting, produced better black and white colors, and used less energy than CCFLs. The TVs that used LED backlights were commonly known as LED TVs.
Our TV is an LED one. At least that's what my dad says.
Well, they are pretty common these days, and they're selling OLED TVs now. OLED stands for Organic Light Emitting Diode, and they allow each pixel to be controlled independently, light itself up or turn itself off, and achieve even darker colors.
Hopefully we get that kind of TV soon. I want even better technology than what we have now.
Who knows, Frio? Maybe they'll make an even better TV in the future. And people will probably buy that one. I also forgot to mention Internet TVs. They allowed TVs to connect to your home Wi-Fi. This way you can visit YouTube, Netflix, and any other service or site to watch your shows on. This made it pretty convenient so that you didn't have to connect your computer to the TV to display YouTube or Netflix. You can just watch it directly from the TV.
We have that kind of TV too. It's pretty cool to just watch YouTube right there.
That's pretty much all there is to the basics of television. So, did you have fun learning, Frio?
Well, a lot of it was technical, but I enjoyed it. I can't wait to tell my mom what I learned this time. Learning about TVs was great. Come join us next time to learn with me about something else the professor will teach us about. Will it be about the president, fire, or computers? I'm not sure, but it'll definitely be exciting to learn. Take care, everyone.